I'm Hannah and I'm the educator here at SensesWA's. So I work on the Deafblind services team. And I also am the chairperson for Deafblind West Australians. And my journey to deafblindness started about 4 years ago when I had life-saving brain surgeries. So before then I had hearing and vision, was very able-bodied. I was a teacher of kids with disabilities, so I was in that community, but as a teacher, as an advocate. And then when I was 29, I was diagnosed with a neurological condition called neurofibromatosis type 2, NF2. And I learned pretty quickly that NF2 will lead to deafness, vision loss, balance issues, mobility concerns. And it was just a matter of tumour progression. So it was quite a hard thing, not only to digest, but also to plan for. So I carried on life as normal as best I could until I had to have those surgeries, which were about 6 years after diagnosis. And so with these surgeries, they go in, they take out as much tumour as they can. But in order to do so, they have to sever that auditory vestibular nerve, so you are sort of helped in a way, but it also damaged in another. So I woke up from both surgeries. One on the right was first, and I woke up deaf on the right side. And then 12 months later, they had to do the left side, so I woke up profoundly deaf on both sides, which was a big change. Everything you think of changes when you lose a sense. NF2 also means I have vision loss. It's gotten really worse since the second surgery because it affected my facial nerve. So that affects things like closing your eye, the health of the surface of the eye, those type of things sort of progress. So that's something that I just have to try and stay on top of. And then with these surgeries, when they take out that tumour and the nerve gets damaged, they put in at the same time what is called an auditory brainstem implant, ABI. And so I have one on either side, and that's sort of your last chance at being able to access sound. Because the nerve is no longer working, you're unable to have a cochlear implant. So an ABI connects directly to the brainstem. So on my right side, I have one on my right side, but it doesn't work. It doesn't produce any auditory response, so I don't wear it, and just completely deaf on this side. The one on the left was different. The electrodes, there's 12 electrodes, and the one on the left, all 12 responded. So I have hearing from all 12 electrodes on the left side when I wear the processor. When I take it off, when I go to sleep, when I have a shower, if it's raining, I take it off and completely deaf. Can't hear myself speak. So it's been a big change, and going through that change, you need supports, and I started looking for supports. So that led me to SensesWA as a disability service provider. I came to Senses as a client, OT, physio, orthoptics, and then through Senses I was introduced to DBWA. Daily life, it's affected on every level, I think, when you have a dual sensory loss or you're deafblind, and just simply starting by waking up, it affects you fundamentally with communication. So waking up, you need to have a new method of waking up, because you're not going to hear that alarm. And then going to work, suddenly, okay, well, driving isn't possible now, so okay, am I near a train station? Am I near a bus stop? How am I going to catch that? And so it goes from there to there, and then you get to work. Do you have a job? because that's a big thing. I had to change careers. My job was no longer accessible, so I had to change careers. And then by the time you get to that point, that workplace needs to be accessible. You know, you need to feel comfortable, feel like you're contributing. There need to be workplace adjustments, and then you go from there to when you get home. You know, walking the dog now becomes a challenge. You know, am I going to hear the traffic? Am I going to be able to cross the road safely? Exercising becomes hard. Cooking becomes a challenge, and then in the evenings, perhaps seeing a friend or watching a movie. These all require communication, and we all expect it to be easy and straightforward, as it was for me. But now, each one of those things requires a battle or requires just intense concentration. And so from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed, you're on. And I think that's something that people maybe don't understand because you don't see it. You just see the person doing something. You don't realise that they've already had to pull so much before they've got to that point. Deafblindness is a term that can sometimes be a little intimidating perhaps, or a little bit overwhelming for some people, and I certainly was when it was first presented to me by an OT, and they said, you know, deafblind would be a more appropriate term for your condition. And my immediate response was, oh, but I can still see, and I'm not Helen Keller. That's where my brain went immediately. And I think it's really important for people to understand that alongside deafblindness is dual sensory loss. And once that was explained to me, again, by this OT, I immediately, that immediately resonated. I thought, oh yeah, that's me. Because it's not just that I have a hearing loss, it's that my vision is affected, it's that my vestibular system has been affected. So just going and being in the deaf community isn't going to consider all my needs. It's a community that is very diverse. We have people who use so many different forms of communication. We have people who are Auslan users, both from birth or later in life. Myself, I've been learning Auslan for a few years, and I use it a lot when I'm in that community. We have people who are Braille users. They read Braille, and they have Braille transcribers as they listen. We also have people who are oral, people who use lip reading, haptics, all sorts of, across this whole spectrum. So it's not this one little community that, and this is the set way. It's you come along and you use whatever works for you, and you can pick some things and leave others and come back to those at another time if you wish. But I think that's a really important part for people to understand, is that deafblindness is a spectrum, and that dual sensory loss sometimes is an easier way to engage with it. One thing that I would really advocate for people who are working with deafblind people is to ask each person, how do you communicate? What is your preferred communication? Because as I said with the spectrum, like that's going to affect how they communicate with you. So you might have a few clients who have a dual sensory loss or a deafblind, and they could use very different types of communication. So with healthcare professionals, I really advocate for them to learn the needs of that patient, but also to something that goes across all people with a sensory loss is it takes us longer to set up for an appointment. Coming in, sitting down, making sure we're in the right spot in terms of lighting, that we've got a microphone that we're setting up, live transcribing going on, or we have an interpreter. It just takes maybe 30 seconds to a minute to get ourselves ready for them to then begin even just, hi, how are you today? I need to be able to be ready to get that message. So that is something that is across all people with a dual sensory loss, that processing time, and allowing those appointments to maybe be a little bit longer because of that processing time. And you know, you're working with communication disabilities here, so the consult will take longer. The biggest thing with my own journey with deafblindness and making communication easier is feeling more comfortable with my identity, kind of owning it and not shrinking away from this perception of what deafblindness is or what dual sensory loss should be. And it's taken me a little while to get there, but now I go, okay, I get out into the community, and depending on the day, I'll use a variety of different techniques. So I might be using my long white cane to help me on public transport. I might be using microphones in meetings, or auto-transcribing apps, speech to text. If I'm in a different situation, I might be using Auslan, and understanding that not one of those is like the correct way. It's just the way that suits you. And I think that has really helped open the world to me, not shrinking from this condition that has been put on me for, with no control. And so sort of taking it back a little and going, you know what, today I'm not going to use my voice. Today I'm just going to sign, or today I'm not going to wear my implant, and it's going to be a silent day. And it's really lovely to take that power back and to choose. I think it's brilliant that the 27th of June has been recognised by the UN as our International Day for Deafblindness. That's so exciting. It puts us on the calendar. And I think also, the 27th of June is Helen Keller's birthday, was Helen Keller's birthday. So with that, it's brilliant to be able to recognise this woman who's probably the most recognisable, the most famous deafblind person in history. And to see, she was a pioneer. She took expectations and just smashed them, and graduated from college, travelled the world, being profoundly deaf and completely blind. And while that doesn't speak to every person with deafblindness, because it is a spectrum, I love that she is a pioneer, and that she really showed that you should never underestimate someone who is deafblind or who has a dual sensory loss. We have so much potential there.